Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and there was a little bit of movement in the market today. We had Bitcoin went back up above 70,000. We even had a little XRP movement up some, not anything major. You can tell that the market's wanting to have a little green. So we're at a $2.62 trillion market cap. Now, I've got a kind of sort of announcement today, and that is that I've decided I'm going to be doing a space, an X Spaces with Brad Combs from Digital Perspectives. I talked to him on the phone today and I said, let's do a Twitter Spaces and let's create a time slot and then do a Twitter Spaces, an X Spaces one time a week. So what we did is we chose the time slot of Tuesday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to do anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour X Spaces every Tuesday, and each one will just have a title that is some interesting topic going on, and if we decide to change it, we will, or like in the case of this one, XRP ETFs, we're basically thinking 2024, 2025, and that's a topic we'll start with. If something else interesting comes up, we can talk about that. But this is what we're going to do every Tuesday from now on at 12 o'clock noon. And the worst case scenario for you is that you only get 30 minutes instead of an hour. But we'll go 30 minutes, anywhere from 30 to an hour on these things. Now, and this is a clip that kind of goes in line with that. This is Mark Yusko talking about the Ethereum ETF. And remember, Larry Fink would not comment on the BlackRock ETF. Nobody seems to want to comment on a BlackRock XRP ETF, but listen to what he says.
BlackRock put in their application June 15th, 23. I said publicly on that day, guarantee you there'll be an ETF. It wasn't me, it was Larry. When Larry says I'm in, he's 574 and 1. He's only lost one application. And so that's the only reason I'm not comfortable saying definitely no way this thing gets passed. Because the fact that BlackRock did put an application in, they don't lose.
They don't lose. And so exciting times, folks. Crypto bull. I don't know if you're allowed to say any of these things. Maybe since it's Memorial Day, you can say these kind of things. Bitcoin is expensive and slow. Price equals $70,000. Ethereum is just a little faster but expensive. Price equals $3,700. XRP is fast. The only legal crypto and cheap. Price equals 53 cents. Buy XRP. Folks, the dirty little secret is what we blew up with ETHgate. And that dirty little secret is that these two getting their fake regulatory clarity and slamming the regulatory door for all these years on the rest of crypto was by design. It was intentional. And that is what has held the price of all other crypto versus those two down. And we're about past all that garbage. So the question is, when better technologies all of a sudden, all we ever asked for was a level playing field. Because we knew that when better technologies were put on a level playing field with these two lesser technologies, which they all knew too, that the better technologies would crush them. That's why they held them back, folks. Check this out. Brad Combs from Digital Perspectives went to the DC Blockchain Summit, and he interviewed Carlos Domingo. This is the guy from Securitize. And you know what? I'm wondering, folks, I didn't even catch this when I was putting this together. Let me hit the refresh button right here. You know what I'm wondering, folks? Is this right here? It sure does look like him from the side. There is one Brett Redfern that was at the SEC under Jay Clayton, who is also, I think he's an advisor to Securitize or on the board or something. Is that him right there? The side profile looks very similar to what Brett Redfern looked like. I don't know. If it is, then that's one guy who's literally looking right at one of the guys that helped uncover ETHgate. I'm sure he's not very happy to see Brad Combs on stage. Here's a little bit of Brad Combs interviewing Carlos Domingo. Because remember, Securitize is in the business of tokenizing real world assets, and this is going to be one of the companies that's at the forefront of that. Listen up.
In the industry, and as you said, 2018, everybody was very excited about tokenization. We were one of the companies there. At that time, we were probably not the most known company like we are today, I would say. There were other companies that were much better funded, that they had raised a lot more money, that they had big backers like A16Z or big VCs that were backing some of these players there. And then it didn't happen. And I think it didn't happen for a variety of reasons. One is obviously the players back there, like ourselves, we didn't have any licenses, right? So we were not regulated, and then to convince, the KKRs, the BlackRocks of the world to move into the space, you have to convince them also that this is legal, right? That there is a regulatory framework for how you're using this technology to issue, trade, and serve securities. So that was not there. The technology itself, blockchain, was very, very rough. It was, very difficult to do key management and wallet management, and the UIs were very non-user friendly, etc. So those things have improved significantly. And I think the third thing is that the crypto industry just went in a completely different direction, right? While now it seems to be like a consensus within the crypto industry that what they call real world assets, it's one of the best use cases for this technology, and probably one of the biggest ones that people can focus on.
Now, we know you've got some big BlackRock news, and we're going to get to that in a minute here, but you're a number one leader in real world asset tokenization. This is where the world is going. You've cut through to be at the front of the line. Can you just speak to what you set up for companies that need to tokenize? Because there's the investor that can participate in the platform, and then there's the companies that can come to you because they want to tokenize securities. Can you talk about it from that side?
Yeah, so it's a two-sided marketplace, as we said, right? So you have on one side the issuers, which are the owners of assets that they want to digitize them if you want, make them more productive, put them on chain, be able to interact with other things, etc. And then there's the investors that come there. So we do have kind of like two licenses if you want. We have a transfer agent license, which is a SEC registered transfer agent that allow us to basically work with an issuer, like BlackRock in this case, and issue their securities on chain and manage them on chain, keep track of beneficial ownership, do things like, enforce compliance, do redemptions.
I'll tell you what, that is interesting stuff. Let me see if I can fast forward to the BlackRock part. There we go, right there. Let's see what he says.
Started like being very vocal on TV, in CNBC, and on these, finance programs, talking about how they were doing the Bitcoin ETF. That's one of the big things that they're doing. Super successful launch. And then the other thing, it was tokenization. He was very vocal about how, he believed the future of asset management was tokenization, because you could then, kind of digitize the securities and allow for better distribution, better asset servicing, reduce cost, do new things, etc. So he was talking about it, but he hadn't done anything. Just go ahead.
No, why now though? Why is this happening now? Do you feel you're getting the response for? It's not just BlackRock, by the way, right? You're having all of these companies come to you now. Why is it now, even though we have the current lay of the land with regulation the way it isn't?
I don't know. I don't know why BlackRock has come now. Not before. We've met the team back in 2019 when they were already kind of exploring the space. I think, as I mentioned, now people feel more comfortable with the blockchain industry as a whole and crypto.
Okay, well, that's interesting stuff. BlackRock is coming. We all know it now. I want to show this right here. Watch this video right.
This is very interesting, especially, as you mentioned, a lot of these terms that were being defined post-Dodd-Frank, for example, the term swap, as you mentioned, took a little years, and it's a financial instrument that is very standardized or even commoditized at this stage, no pun intended. And then the idea is, okay, when we look at this is, I have trouble seeing how regulators are going to come up to an agreement on from staking to yield farming to airdrops. I mean, there's so many items that come up that are so difficult to define, and have trouble seeing how, even let's say if the legislative, the Congress gives both the SEC and the CFTC 365 days, a year basically to come up with the regulations, and the space moves so quickly that it's going to be very, very challenging from that perspective to get the market intel, the market color, and all the developments and try to fit that in. I don't know what you think of that.
Yeah, no, so that is one of the reasons that the rulemaking process oftentimes takes such a long time, particularly in one like this where, as you mentioned, Ray, there's so many terms and so many defined terms and what they actually mean in practice versus what they mean, in terms of the definition of the statute. And I would like to point out, my colleague Christian Carlo, when he was the chair of the CFTC, formed what was then known as Lab CFTC, which was really a division within the agency that was designed to get the CFTC to understand developments in technology, to understand different aspects of new market structures, and really to be a sort of beacon of information coming into the CFTC. So they would be out there meeting with either market participants, technology developers, anyone that would wanted to explain certain issues to the CFTC, and they could ingest that and see, okay, how does this fit within our regulatory structure? Are there sort of rulemakings that we should be opining on? Are there definitions that we need to understand a little bit better? And what this bill does is sort of codify Lab CFTC and makes it a sort of permanent office within that agency. And so kudos to Chris on having the foresight to create that type of division within the agency. And now Congress very much recognizing it by codifying it and putting it in the statute, which means it stays there forever. And one of the two other things I'll just mention is within the Commodity Exchange Act, which is the law that governs the CFTC, there is a provision that requires that the CFTC consider, quote, responsible innovation as they develop their rules. And having Lab CFTC is one way to do that. And there's another provision of the bill that actually would add somewhat similar language on the SEC side. So when the SEC contemplates its rulemakings, they would equally have to consider how to foster what we respond.
This thing sure does feel like what we're watching right now is an intentional shift of power away from the SEC and towards the CFTC. Now, one thing that I've been hearing a lot of on social media recently is something I was talking about I think back in 2019 even, or 28, and that is, my theory has always been that somewhere in the hatching of XRP and XLM, somewhere in there is the PayPal Mafia, and that refers to a lot of the founding members of PayPal. So in DAIXRP.com, I'm going to go back and show you some of the things that made me think this, and show you what some of my thoughts were back then, and that I still believe it to this day, that somewhere behind XRP and XLM is some combination of and this isn't even a theory, because we know for a fact Peter Thiel through Founders Fund invested in Opencoin, which was Ripple Labs before it was Ripple Labs. And we know that through Stripe, a lot of the PayPal founders, including Elon Musk, invested in XLM. Literally took XLM for their investment. Stripe did. And a lot of those guys are on the board. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. Let's talk about PayPal